Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have Craig Steele, Exclusive Pursuits Outfitters. And you've been on a spree here lately, young man.
Yep.
What do you got to say for yourself? I talked to you on the phone yesterday. You were headed deer hunting, and the next thing I know, you're posting a picture of a old ancient buck on that you'd shot with your bow one day out.
Man, I'm just hunting a lot, whether it be guiding or helping family or I don't get to hunt that much for myself, but yeah, just hunting a ton, which man, if you love hunting, what is there not to like about that, man?
Yeah,
It's
I mean, watching all that you've done this fall, I've been hashtagging Craig Steele Guide of the Year, and I guess we got to bounce back all the way back to elk season. I guess the last time we talked after the late or the early elk seasons.
uh-huh.
But what's the deal, man? You've been just laying stuff down left and right.
Man, just pretty blessed. A lot of hard work. I mean, goes into everything, but pretty blessed. We had great late season elk hunters, and I think we went 100% on our late season hunts, except for one muzzleloader hunter didn't kill, but he had opportunities and just killed some great bulls. Actually, the biggest bull we killed of the year was 383 on a late season hunt. Bull would have been over 390 if he didn't have a busted tine, which was par for the course this year. But killed a
What's this bull with
oh
this young guy that I see?
yeah,
I
oh
watched the
the
video. That was a great video.
the kid, that's Myles Bull. That bull was high 367, and he would have been mid 370s without a busted tine as well. That's actually my favorite bull of the year. I love bulls that drop down.
How old was that little dude?
He's 12 years old. I hunted with him on predator hunts a couple of times. I always say Myles is my own most honest client because he will tell you. Kids have a funny way of just calling it like they see him, and he will tell you. I've had him on predator hunting days where he's been like, "Man, Dad, our guide sucks," and uh, man, what can you do but smile? I'm all about being, open and honest with people. Sometimes maybe a little bit too much in the world we live in today. But he will just tell you that. And honestly, we didn't see an elk for 2 days with that kid. And then the third day, we seen two shooters. And that bull, he actually glassed up that bull. We were looking at another bull and kind of trying to make a plan. And the other bull went out of sight. And Miles told his dad that I see a bull. I see another bull. And his dad's like, come on, Miles, you don't see another bull. And he was set up on Outdoorsman's tripod with 10 by 42 ELs. So he was just, glassing like a stud. And he glassed up some deer earlier in the day. And he'd finally got, how to pick things out. And of course, big old yellow dumb elk are easier to glass than mule deer. And his dad didn't believe him. His dad actually walked over and looked at his glasses where they were lined up, and he said, "Miles, you're looking at the same bull." And so he wasn't sold that he had a bull in the view because Miles is a kid. You kind of doubt it. And here Travis and I are looking with our 15s in the same area. Well, this bull had popped up 800 yards from us. And the field of view with our 15s, I had on my 30s because I was looking at the bull trying to kind of evaluate him. And Travis had on his 15s, and our field of view wasn't big enough to catch that bull. I mean, we were all looking in the same spot because he had on 10s. He was able to catch that bull. And finally, the other bull walked behind a ridge, and Miles is still talking about this bull. He's talking, I can see him right now. And I'm like, Miles, you can see a bull right now in your binoculars. And he's like, yep. So I finally man, I got to go check. Well, I bend down and I just closed my right eye and looked with my left eye. And as soon as I seen it, I ran back to my binoculars. And I'm like, Travis, he's not lying. He's got another bull. And
was he like, of course I'm not lying, you bonehead?
I mean, it was comical. So he glassed up his bull, and when I seen that bull, I knew it was a shooter. Didn't have time to evaluate him, but anybody that knows me or is around me enough knows that I like how animals look versus actually how they score. And I'm a sucker for bulls that their beams turn down. And I don't think we get, it seems like the central units, 21, 22 area gets a lot of those bulls, or a higher percentage. Seems like Nevada has those type of bulls. I don't think we get as many of them in Western Unit 10, Unit 9 as some of those other units, and I'm talking about those bulls where their beams just fall off the face of the earth. And those, I'm just a sucker for them. Anyway, it was a shooter for him. He went over there. He made a 450-yard shot, and bull went down, one shot kill, and man, we were just tickled pink. And then a couple days later, he went to another unit with his dad and gave him a little bit of advice, and he killed his first javelina. So that was awesome.
Yeah, I see the pictures here on Instagram. Craig Steele AZ. There's pictures of Myles, and there's the little video of him shooting his bull, and then there's a picture of him with his javelina. And one of the most impressive pictures in this little set is you are working on Myles Bull. You got your legs kind of spread, you're standing, but you're bent at the waist. It looks like you're tired of being on your knees, so you just said, to heck with it, I'm standing. And if I did that, I don't know that I could ever straighten back up.
Well, my back is better than my knees. So I got a bum right knee right now. I don't know what's going on with it, but it swells up and goes away. And about the time I say I'm going to go to the doctor, get it checked out, I decide it's okay.
Yeah, you rub a little dirt on it and say it'll just go away.
Yeah, and then it starts hurting again like I did this morning. I feel like I'm 50 when I get out of bed, and I'm not. So anyways, yeah.
Then I'm looking at a picture of old Mrs. Steele laid the wood on a big old bull.
Yep.
She didn't waste any time, did she?
My wife?
Yeah.
You're talking? Yeah, she took a back seat. I had a couple hunters that had the same tag as her and my daughter. And, my daughter got her bull, which was just a big old 60-inch beam. It is bigger than what I thought it was. It ended up being in the 360s. Would have been 383 inches, but he was just.
Oh, that's the one I'm looking at. That's got the broken. Looks like the broken fifth point, and he's busted up, but he's a giant.
Yeah, he's just super long, and he's not the prettiest bull in the world, but and that's part of the reason why I didn't think he was that great. But he was a mature bull. She had basketball practice, so we had to get done early with her, and then had a couple clients coming in, and Myles, and then gosh dang it, why can't I, Marty, and then so my wife took a back seat, which we were cool with. And then my wife has been on several hunts where every time she has a tag, we usually encounter a giant, something 390 plus. This is how we met was through the YouTube series, The Rookie. That's when you first messaged me when I published that. And that was our first elk tag. And, we were hunting a lot more for ourselves back then and took the time to hunt a lot. But, there was a couple bulls on that hunt. She actually missed a bull that was close to 390. And then we encountered a bull that we called Squeak that was well over 390. And, and then there's been some other times when, we had a 370 bull found that we didn't get killed, and then I bumped a 400-inch bull at 40 yards that the world doesn't know about, that was bedded, that I trailed up with her, and had the rifle in my hand, and sucks to have a bull at 40 yards that's that big and you don't get him killed, and just on and on with her. I know there's more. She loves really wide bulls. She's not into anything narrow. So once all the hunters got done, and we had like 4 days we can hunt, and it ended up only being 2 days that we were able to hunt, just because, life, schedule, family, just a number of basketball games. My daughter's basketball game, we didn't want to miss that. So we were hunting a couple bulls that we were looking for that we hadn't seen. We didn't know if they were broke. We just knew through early season scouting that they were around, and everything we found was either that was big and mature was broken, and then everything else was just too small. So we just found that bull. My buddy Mike and my dad glassed up that bull, and we were getting ready to leave, and they were talking about this bull, and I hadn't seen the bull, and we passed on a bull that was probably 365, but he was just a 6x5, but he had a broken fourth, and then half of his fourth was gone on the other side, but he was a big old cool bull, just a giant body, 1,000-pound bull. He looked a lot like my daughter's bull. We decided to let him go, and we saw this bull, and he was pretty, and when I first saw him I thought he was bigger, and then when we got over there and got within I think it was 500 yards, I looked at him, and I knew he wasn't what I thought he was, but I wasn't going to tell my wife. It was the last evening, and literally the last 30 minutes, and she put 2 in him, killed him, and he's just a pretty young 6-point. The only thing I regret is that he was young, but other than that, man, it was a great experience. It had been 8 years since she killed a bull. It wasn't the bull that we had hoped for, but it was the bull that we got, and she was pumped about it. She made a great shot. She didn't have to be too cold. So, yeah, that's kind of the story on that. That bull actually pictured really well. I've had big bulls that, we killed, I don't know, 7 bulls over 350 this year, and half of those bulls didn't picture as well as her 310-inch bull.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how sometimes just horn configuration, lighting, angles, and all that can make a bull look, that much bigger in a picture versus, a bull that, is really that big. Body size has a lot to do with it. That bull only probably had a 700-pound body versus, some of those big bulls have, 900 to 1,000-pound bodies. So
yeah, it makes a big difference. One question I have is, what advice do you have for guys out there hunting with their wives or trying to get their wives into hunting? Your wife's already into hunting. She's around it a lot with you. But you got any advice for guys out there trying to get their better halves into it? What would you do and what would you not do? I'm sure you've been good at both, I'm sure.
First, I got to say that I think there's a huge growth in the hunting world with women hunters. I think you have to be real with yourself first, and real with your spouse, your wife, and ask yourself, what type of hunter she is and what she wants to experience. Because you know me, and I think a lot of people listening know me. I'm very competitive, specifically with myself, and I want to do as good as I possibly can, hunt as hard as I possibly can, and that's not to the level that my wife can go. And she's loves to hunt because I love to hunt. I think there's this big fad too where it's cool to hunt for women, because the perception is there's a lot of sponsorship, there's a lot of benefit for women to hunt, which I think it's awesome. Obviously, my mom hunts, my sister hunts, my daughter hunts, my wife hunts. But I would be lying to everyone if I said that they're like us, as in they can go out and get it done on their own. Now, there are women, Jolie, that can do that have the skill, they have the desire, they have the passion. So you have to be honest with yourself from that standpoint and say, okay, well, who is my wife, and what does she really care about? And, it's just like for my wife, she doesn't like being cold. She has things. She's a full-time RN. She works nights. She's a full-time mom. She works her ass off, and, it may not be the most enjoyable time spent for her to be up on the side of a mountain looking for big dumb yellow elk when it's, 30 degrees outside. That's just a fact. And so once you identify that, then, it's just making sure you have fun. Don't take yourself too serious like I usually do. And, really identify why you're hunting. For me personally, I would aid a tag. But for her, it was accomplishing a goal, and so I had to pull myself out of that situation. It wasn't my tag on that last evening, and get her some experience and let her accomplish, that goal. So, I just identify who they, what they're hunting for, and make sure you don't, because there will be arguments out there. Let me tell you, especially if you're like me and my wife likes to hunt, but she's not me, and so I think that's the number one issue is defining who they are. Now, if your wife's, a go-getter and, she's just into hunting and she's studying maps and, she's ready to skin out that bull by herself and find bull and go hang a trail camera and, take the truck out and go get lost and pound it, then, man, you've found the exception. But most women aren't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can say my wife early on hunted all over with me, went with me all over, and quite honestly, I think I ruined her. I took her in places I shouldn't have taken her. I took her in conditions I shouldn't have taken her, and I made it where it wasn't fun. And the reality is I made it not fun, and I made it too serious. And she will go if she draws a premium tag because she knows that it's important to me. But yep. I had one chance to make it fun, make it enjoyable, and make her love it like I do. And I think maybe I tried to go about it at my pace so that she would love it like I do, and she doesn't. So that's the reality. But I think even more, like you hit the nail on the head, that's not uncommon. So I was trying to do something that was against the grain and not make someone, but I did my best to like make someone like something, and that's like the worst thing that you can do. In my opinion.
It is. It's, I mean, they're not you.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you learn. And my wife always says this because she'll see somebody, a girl or a woman, whether it be, we don't watch hunt shows, but whether it be, someone posting up a picture or whatnot, and she'd be like, man, do you wish I was into hunting more? To be honest with you, I don't think our family could take it. She was in the hunting board. You know, I mean, I give her all the credit in the world. It's literally it's a sickness for us, and I almost, to be honest with you, I get so worked up with her when she has a tag because I want her to get, to be honest, if she kills that one bull elk, she's probably done. You know, that one bull elk, she's probably done. And she, you know, and I mean, especially with our kids, their age now. And it's not that she, you know, it's just not a priority for her.
Right. It's just not high on the
no, I mean, that's what you have to accept and realize that they're different people. And like you said, you can't force anything, you know. So
yeah, good stuff. Let's take a quick break here.
GoHunt.com Insider is currently working hard on year-over-year draw odds. This will be a very nice enhancement. As you can imagine, this will include more data and allow people to find important trends. Additionally, GoHunt.com Insider will be adding guided draw for New Mexico and Nevada, and will finally have Arizona draw odds, which everybody's pumped for. The Arizona draw odds will be insanely accurate. GoHunt.com Insider has worked very closely with the Arizona Game and Fish Department to get all of the data needed. This will all be live before the end of the year. If you're not already a member of GoHunt.com Insider, go to GoHunt.com/JScott to sign up and receive a $50 KUIU gift card.
Real game calls featuring the elk reel. Real Game Calls makes innovative, realistic, and easy-to-master calls using their proprietary, revolutionary design. They are located and manufactured in Gypsum, Colorado. Their calls were designed and battle-tested on some of the hardest hunted terrain on Earth. Check out elkreel.com. Use the promo code JScott and receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Go to www.elkreel.com. Okay, Craig, I want to shift gears. Awesome elk season you guys had. Exclusive Pursuit Outfitters. Check them out. Check out Craig's website. Check them out on Instagram. I want to shift gears a little bit because you quickly transitioned from late elk season into archery deer, and you do a lot of over-the-counter archery deer, mule deer hunts, and I get a lot of questions and I get a lot of messages about guys from out of state wanting to know about opportunities in Arizona for archery deer. And you know, I think first of all we should say that, you know, Arizona offers archery, mule deer, and Coues deer hunts in August over the counter. Then in a lot of units in, I believe, like December, it's usually like the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that of December every year, they offer December hunts. And then starting January 1st, in most units in Arizona, you can also buy an archery deer tag that now starts January 1st for this new, say, coming up 2017 season. That tag can also be used in August if you don't fill it in January. So from an opportunity standpoint, Arizona, in my opinion, has phenomenal deer hunting because of the amount of time that you're allowed, and you can shoot both species. You guys do well in August and on the later hunts, on the over-the-counter deer hunts, but you this year took a guy and man, he shot a nice 4x4 buck, nice and wide, great buck. I know you and Lee, you guys had success last year. What's your secrets, or what's your thoughts on this hunt, and why is it a hunt that you like to do every year?
Well, speaking about the December, January hunts, that the one thing about Arizona south of the Grand Canyon is and the further south you get towards Mexico, the deer are rutting that time of year, versus, some of the what traditional Rocky Mountain mule deer, above the Grand Canyon and in states like Colorado and whatnot, those deer rut in November. So we're a little bit different, and there's not many other places other than Mexico that have the offering of a late rut deer hunt. So that's the uniqueness of it. Now, as far as like being successful on the over-the-counter deer hunts, they're tough. There's a reason they're over-the-counter, obviously, because they're open to the general public. I think there's, I don't know, last time I looked, 12 to 15,000 bow hunters in the state of Arizona. But I mean, considering the amount of area that is open, it's minimal. And not all those guys are eligible to hunt. So,
meaning if they had shot a buck with their rifle tag, they can't. They can't hunt in December. They have to wait till January 1st to start a new year. But then if they kill a buck in January with their bow, then they can't apply for rifle seasons in the fall. So out of those hunters, there's probably half of them can't even hunt.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, one of the biggest factors is knowing locations. I mean, knowing where deer are, because you could come out and hunt on your own and it might take you, you might stumble on a good buck and, kill a good buck. I knew a kid from Utah about 3 years ago that did it, killed a 180-inch buck on his first time out. As far as I know, the kid hasn't come back, but, he went on his own and he found a good buck. Now, it could take you, 5 years, now we run about anywhere from 5 to 15 over-the-counter archery deer hunts a year. That's from January to August through December. So not a ton. There's other guys that are running a lot more, but knowing locations, local knowledge, scouting, and that so those are the two biggest key factors. And then knowing deer. I've been hunting the over-the-counter archery deer hunt since I was 14 years old, 12 years old, somewhere in there. I don't know. I've killed 8 or 9 bucks with my bow. I've never killed a mule deer with my rifle. Never even had a rifle tag. I got 15 points for the strip. So it's one of those things where the opportunity is there. As far as the quality of bucks, a lot of locals will shoot whatever, but there's opportunity to kill 160 to 180 inch bucks in some units. There's guys killing. I just looked at a picture today of a guy I know killed a 180 inch buck on Monday. So there's definitely that opportunity. The buck that we just took was 29 inches wide, and he was just a hair over 175. He was super old, great buck. That's a solid buck for that hunt. That's a great buck for that hunt. If you can kill 170 to 180 inch mule deer on pretty much any tag other than the strip, I mean, you're doing something.
Was that buck rutting? That wide buck that you guys killed? Was he rutting?
He was rutting. In fact, I knew that buck. I had trail cameras pictures of that buck, or we had trail camera pictures of that buck in August, and we didn't see him the entire August season. He didn't show up at any point in time through any of the seasons until that day. And that buck I'd seen 2 years ago when we were hunting a 200-inch buck. I'd seen him in the same area. Mule deer have a little bit bigger home range than Coues deer. Everybody, well, I don't know if everybody knows, but Coues deer have tiny home ranges. So that's where locations are huge.
When you mean locations, you're just talking about general areas.
Areas.
Like within specific units, you're talking about pockets of where there's deer.
Yep.
So for those listening that are going to go guided, the guides usually know those pockets of deer. for those guys that are going to try and do it on their own, they have to figure out where those pockets of deer are. But if you can be in those general locations of pockets of deer, and you can go in December and January when they are thinking about chasing does, that's where your key to success is.
Yes, no, for sure. Because you got to find those pockets of does and keep checking them. December usually the central part of the state seems like it gets going a little bit early, and this is just all general, but and the further south you go seems like the later it starts going. And there is times when January will be rocking, mid-January can be rocking. It's just like the elk rut. There's a lot of variables that go in there that we think we know that we really don't know.
Let me ask you specifically. Let's talk like just central Arizona. Units 10s, 17s, 18s. Would you say, if you had to pick, say, a 2-week window, when would you say the prime rut is? Like, give me
for central Arizona, I would say, kind of north central Arizona, I would say the prime rutting would be like the week before Christmas until like the second weekend of January. And then I would say scale that back a week and a half for the southern hunts, like, in the 40 units. In any of the more deserty units, it extends further back, but
meaning later, correct?
Later, yeah. Go back another week and a half.
So in other words, as you drop down in elevation and get more out in the deserts, it's going to be more like Christmas to like the second, third week of January. It's going to bump back a week.
Yep. Typically.
And then I would even say as you go down in southern Arizona, the further south you go. Speaking about mule deer, I'm saying probably the month of January is the best in southern Arizona.
Yeah.
Speaking about coos, I'm gonna say you get some pre-rutting activity on those over-the-counter hunts after Christmas. In central Arizona, which is a higher elevation, which is a higher, it's higher up in the state when you look at Arizona. It may happen sooner, and then as you get closer to Mexico, your coos deer rut is going to be later. So I think most of the best coos deer rutting activity is definitely in January, and I think it can go through the whole month. I just want to make that clear. And the thing about Arizona that's cool is it's any antler deer tag, so you can shoot a coos deer or a mule deer. And there are some units where the deer overlap, and you can see on the same hill, glassing, you can see a coos deer and a mule deer buck in the same morning.
Yep.
And I think another thing to point out is if you apply ahead of time, there are javelina tags that you can get in those same units and draw those javelina tags, and then you have a mixed bag hunt of over-the-counter deer and archery javelina at the same time. But honestly, don't you think for those listening that are from out of state, if they really want to get serious about hunting deer in the rut, I mean, Arizona is a great opportunity. Yeah, it may take them a couple years to figure it out, or hire a group like yourself that already knows and's dialed in. But I mean, not many opportunities across the United States where you can actually hunt mule deer in the true rut.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a huge opportunity. It to be honest with you, is actually, from a big game standpoint, it's our funnest hunt. Because guys haven't waited 10, 20, 30 years. They're not, the anticipation isn't there so much as far as they have to because they've invested so much time and money waiting for this tag. It's an over-the-counter hunt. It's just fun. The opportunity is there to kill good bucks, and you're hunting. Those rut hunts are awesome. Now the August, September hunts, those are more traditional. They're found, pretty much in other states as well. Some of the states are draw, But, the benefit of that hunt, and this is just me personally, I like the rut hunts, but I've personally myself have had more success on bigger bucks and less pressure on a public land standpoint on those early season hunts, because there's a lot of fair weather bow hunters that don't get out in August and September, and everybody's thinking about other animals. And I've personally hunted bucks over 200 inches on that hunt, and should have killed some bucks that big. But anyway, that's and on that hunt, the bucks they're either by themselves or in a small bachelor group, and it's spot and stock, early morning, late in the evening, pretty much midday is dead for the most part, unless you got a moon phase, where they get up for a few minutes and feed. But there's another opportunity, and that one tag is valid from January 1 until December 31st of the next year when the seasons are open. So you essentially, if you bought a tag for January, if you had the time and money, you could hunt all 3 seasons on that tag. So
for the money, the value, and if you have the opportunity to come in August and hunt, and then you have the opportunity to come back in December, it's a great, actually the best thing is to come hunt in January. If you don't kill, you come hunt in August. If you don't kill, you come hunt in December. And as far as value hunting, it's a great proposition for sure.
Let's talk about, I wanted to get into the subject because I have people, one thing with those hunts is, I will tell you, is that it's a bow hunt. So they're archery hunts. Now, there's a lot of conversion over guys who want to get opportunities that are rifle hunters that have never bow hunted. That James kid that killed that buck, he's a bow hunter. And we're all hunters, but he made a quick call on that buck. That buck was we bumped that buck at 30 yards and he stood up, and James was at full draw and he walked behind a juniper. And at that point in time, the guide can't do anything for the hunter. The hunter is on his own. It's not like rifle hunting where you can control a lot as a guide. And James made a quick call to step 5 steps to his right at full draw, and that's the reason he was able to kill that buck, is because he had a skill set that allowed him to, and he had that mental capacity. There's a lot of guys that would have froze up and asked me what to do at that point in time, and it probably would have cost us that buck.
Don't you think it's instinct? He didn't have to ask, he just acted.
He did.
It's instinct.
It's instinct, and some of that's talent, and some of that is failing. He's only 18 years old, so he hasn't failed as much as many people, so there must be a little bit of a talent variable in there. But being able to shoot your bow, being able, I'm not saying take long shots, but being able to practice out to 70, 80 yards, so that 40 to 60 yard range is money, is critical. And a lot of guys that are in the Midwest and back east, they don't think about that stuff. It's a spot. Most of them are spot and stock hunts, so things can be really quick, especially on that rut hunt. Things can change, and if you, I'm going to tell you, if you are going to go do it on your own, expect to fail for the first at least 5 years, and I'm just going to be honest about it, because it's going to take you time. You're going to have to first find areas to hunt, and then if you've never bow hunted mule deer, you're going to have to put in the time, and that means either you're going to get lucky, or you're going to fail a whole bunch to gather that experience to become successful. And that's just what it takes. A lot of guys, I get that question all the time, just for general knowledge, like, oh, what about this and what does it take? And we could write you and I both know we could write a how-to, but the reality of it is you have to put in the time, you have to put in the work, and a lot of that means year after year after year after year of failure, and then slowly getting a success here, and then you learn from all those mistakes. And a lot of people that don't want to learn from those mistakes, they quit, and bow hunting's not for them. It's a different game. It's sometimes I hate guiding bow hunts just because of you have to have a certain mindset and a talent level to be successful. It's just the truth.
I totally agree with you. Let me ask you a question.
Yep.
From a standpoint for those listening out there, when you are driving to your hunting area or whatever you're doing, once you get out of the vehicle, what are you doing? Are you going up to a knob? Are you glassing? Tell me in general, how are you finding these deer? How are you figuring these deer out? And then how do you make your stock?
Number one thing I am thinking about is weather the day and night before. Because if it's blowing 40 miles an hour all night out of the north, I'm not going to be looking at any slopes that are in the wind. Anything that's on the north side. And you can flip-flop that whatever wind direction you want to be. I don't think a lot of people think about that stuff. Those animals, they're going to be pocketed up. They live in that. They're going to be in sheltered areas. So you need to first identify what was the weather like the day and the night before. So that will increase your odds significantly at being able to glass up, especially deer, which are the number one, predation on deer is way higher than predation on elk. So they're constantly hiding from coyotes, bobcats, mountain lions, and humans. So they're going to be in those little draws. Let's say the wind's blowing 30 out of the north that night. You can expect that I'm not going to be glassing anything that is on the north side. I'm going to be looking at those draws or canyons on the south side. And I'm going to, if it's still blowing hard, I'm going to probably not going to be doing any big glassing. I'm going to be glassing little pockets. Now, if it's blowing light or whatnot, I may hike up to a high point and glass. One thing I've learned is that it's kind of contradictory to elk, but sometimes with deer, you're glassing from the bottom up. Specifically where I hunt, where the browse feed is better on those ridges, especially during the rut hunts, because those does with those fawns are typically in a little bit steeper country. Those bucks in the early season, they'll chase that green grass and be out in flats, and that's how they get killed by us, because we can glass from above and glass down on them. And it's an easier stock. But during the rut hunts, those does are typically in those ridges, staying away from the coyotes, and trying to stay away from other predators. Plus, there's browse feed. They're not on grass that time of year. They're on browse. They're on cliff rose. They're on manzanita. They're on scrub oak. They're on juniper berries. Anything that's need a chest height. That's what they're eating. So a lot of times I'll be glassing from the bottom, which may be the truck, up. If it's an area I got to hike into, I'll probably glass from a ridge line down, and then once I clear that area, I'll hike to the next area. But that's general rule of thumb is pay attention to the weather, because that's going to tell you what side of the mountains or hills you want to look on.
I think that's a great tip there, Craig. What else? How are you finding deer? If you were just thrown into an area that you'd never been, what are you looking for? If I just took you out and said you got to find 15 deer today, what are you looking for?
The number one thing I would do, depending on what weather is, let's say if it's been dry, which it hasn't been dry in Arizona over the last month, but let's say it's been dry, which is common, 2-week dry spell. the one thing I would do if I was a newbie going to somewhere else to hunt, I would drive as much country as I possibly can, check as many waters, and look for tracks, especially in the desert. Check for tracks around the waters, check for tracks, in washes, because those tracks aren't going to lie. You can get up on the knob and glass your little heart away and not see, that one buck with 5 does in that 5 square miles. Mm-hmm. But he lives there, and he's going to leave tracks somewhere in that 2-week time period. So if those tracks aren't going to lie, that's my biggest saying. I actually had a predator hunter that I hunt with a lot. He's like, tracks don't lie. They don't lie.
You said it enough that he finally started repeating it?
Yeah, the tracks tell the story, and they give me confidence. So when I've got tracks, I know there's something there. I'm just not seeing them. And so, then obviously, if you have trail cameras on those water sources and you're able to do it, put up trail cameras, use those trail cameras. Now, mind you, they're mule deer, and speaking from the mule deer standpoint, desert mule deer, these animals are used to living in 90 to 120 degrees. They don't have to water every day. They're not big old elk. And so you may not get everything that you're hoping, but those tracks aren't going to lie. So once I find them, I might, I'm going to pick an area, I'm going to look for tracks. If I don't see enough tracks, I may go move on to the next area, try to cut tracks. Once I find the sign that has the biggest buck tracks and maybe the most density, then that's probably where I would concentrate my efforts. You don't have all the time in the world if you're going to come on your own. You may have 3 or 4 days, or let's say you have a week. That to me is number one thing. And I still do that. If I'm going into an area I haven't been in a while, I may for that day or half a day check for tracks, and the one thing about knowing locations, speaking on the mule deer side of it, is every year can be a little bit different. They have small home ranges, but that area may not have gotten rain that much. That monsoon season, there may be a mild difference in the feed from or 200-yard difference from one canyon to the next of what got rain. That canyon over there may got an inch of rain in the monsoon season, versus this canyon over here is completely dry. So those are all things that you need to take in consideration. Is, just because you find that area doesn't mean those deer are going to be exactly in that same spot the next year. They're going to move around based on water, based on feed, predators. So, but finding those tracks is key.
Good stuff. Let's take a quick break. Then I want to ask you about your day hunt yesterday. Went out in one day and shot a really cool buck with your bow.
I have known the owners of the Outdoorsmans in Phoenix for over 20 years. They are the authority on optics and hunting gear. Outdoorsmans is the leading designer and manufacturer of high-quality tripods, mounting accessories, and pack systems for all hunters. Their customer service is the best in the business. Go to outdoorsmans.com or call 1-800-291-8065 and use the J. Scott promo code to receive 10% off any products.
Okay, so you've been hunting like crazy. You've been doing predator hunts with your company, Predator Exclusives. You've been doing late elk hunts. You've been hunting with family and clients, and you shot an over-the-counter mule deer. And then I'm talking to you on the phone because you hadn't literally had a break in seemed like 60 days. And I said, where are you? What are you doing? He goes, I'm headed archery deer hunting. I'm like, dude, you've been gone for like 2 months, killing stuff every day. And the next thing I know, you post on Instagram this gnarly looking old mule deer buck. Was he rutting? Tell me the story. What happened?
Okay, so yesterday I got done with the predator hunt on Tuesday, and then my wife works nights, and she was working Tuesday night, and she was supposed to be on call last night, but she wasn't. She ended up having to go in early. But that morning, I kind of put on my hunting clothes and kind of had it in my small brain that I was going to get out and do some archery deer hunt. But I had to take the appropriate steps, inchworm my way into the conversation with my wife.
I'd say
without
your way in.
without her seeing me in my hunting attire first, to make sure
it's called the art of deception.
It was okay on the home front.
Art of deception, dude.
Now, mind you, I've gotten in 2 days of hunting. 2 days of hunting. In over-the-counter season archery deer in August. That's all I've done. And then I hunted a predator hunt last January, which I hunt annually for a day and a half with my buddy. So that's all the hunting I've done for myself, which I'm okay with. I love, hunting with hunters. I don't have to be the guy pulling the trigger. I've done grown past that. I just love hunting, all aspects of it. But anyway, so I got permission from my wife. She said, "Oh, it's good. It's cool." And then I said, she's like, "Well, are you going to be back in time to pick up your son?" Which was 4:00. And I'm like, I hesitated. She's like, "Nope, I got him. I'm like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yep. But I'll be back in time to pick up my daughter after basketball practice." So that was good. I ended up not being back for either. So we hadn't talked in forever, and or at least very much. And I called you. I made one other phone call to a predator hunter, and I think I talked to you at like 8:45. And I was going out to check an area that doesn't have many deer, but I've been noticing a little bit of bump in deer in that area over the last couple years. And, I knew I could find, well, I hoped I could, if I found a buck, that he'd be older age class. And I knew it was like my only day really to hunt, because today was stormy. I got programs for my kids today. Friday, we're looking at going out deer hunting with my daughter. My daughter has a rut youth mule deer tag, which has been going on since, I don't know, a week and a half ago, and we haven't even gone yet. And we've got the 26th to the 31st, which I was going to be hunting with her. So realistically,
what is that vibrating your phone?
That's my daughter lighting me up. She's wanting me to pick her up from school.
Oh, gotcha.
She's fine. So anyway, I knew it was probably going to be my only day, unless my daughter kills early, but I don't want to rush her hunt because it's taken her a few years to draw it. And man, there's something about hunting with your kids you can never duplicate. So I lost cell phone service with you, and I'm like, okay, well, the first area I go to, there was nothing there. Hiked up a hill, and I'm like, got some good exercise class for a little while, nothing. Come back to the truck. To be honest with you, I hadn't shot my bow since September. I shot at 50 and 60, was dead on, and I'm like, I'm good. And I know there's people out there probably cursing me for saying that, but I was good. I've been bow hunting since I was 12 years old, and probably, I'm not as good as what I should be. This, Jay. Especially as much as I hunt, there's no time to shoot. Yeah. That when you're gone from before daylight to after daylight, and my wife's working night shifts, I guess I could shoot in the house, but I blow through the target, and probably I've done that before and shot my refrigerator, and that wasn't good. So anyway, long and short, probably about 10 o'clock, I finally glassed up some deer. I went to the next spot. They're in this little basin, and there was just a little buck, little 2x3 or something, with 2 does and 2 fawns. And I'm like, crap, man. So I'm like, all right, we'll just keep going. Well, to be honest with you, I was driving to the next spot thinking, okay, where am I going to get up the glass? And then I was thinking about, man, where's this water? Well, I was trying to pull up the Onyx map on my phone to pull up the app, to pull up this water, this catchment, and I didn't have data service. I was looking down at my phone, and I got ready to take a left, and then people are going to be like, oh, man, this guy's a road hunter. And I looked over to the right, and there was a bunch of deer standing there. I couldn't believe it. And I seen the old buck laying down, and they're probably only 110 yards off the road. Well, I just kept driving by. I kind of glanced at them. I got down the road. I drove past them. I turned around. Well, I parked, and I was probably about, I don't know, 3/4 mile from him. Got out my glass, and I looked, and I seen what he was, and he's a big 2-point, old buck, and I was like, it's a
gnarly
mature buck.
looking sucker.
Yeah, it's 11:30.
Like
it's
a
11:30.
regressed buck, like he's already headed downhill looking buck.
Yeah, or he's been a big 2-point all his life. I don't know in that country. Yeah. Who knows? So I looked him over. I'm like, man, he's gnarly. He's cool. I'm like, crap. We still got some places to go. So I took about an hour and a half detour, drove up this other road, hiked out to this point, glassed. In my mind, I'm thinking, man, God just gave you a gift and you're looking away. And I'm like, gosh, dang it. I know there's a better buck around here. There's got to be a better buck. Then I start adding up the time. It's 12:45. I'm like, geez, it's going to take me an hour to get home. That puts me at 1:45. And then I didn't realize I lost an hour. I shouldn't have probably said that. But that's another story. My phone was actually picking up Nevada time where I was at. So I actually lost an hour, and I was thinking it was earlier, but it wasn't. So I was running out of time. So I'm like, crap. I got back in my truck. I'm like, dang it. I'm like, if he's still there, if he's still in the same spot, I'm going to make a go at it. Pulled up there, same spot. He's in the same spot. I'm like, here we go. So I parked. I'm like, this is it right here. I'm going to kill this buck. So I work down the ridge, and anyway, they get up and go over the ridge when I get to the spot I wanted to be at, and then I see them down the bottom. So they go down the bottom, and then they go up over this ridge, and then they start going up the steep, bald hill. I'm like, what in the heck are they doing? So I'm watching them. I'm like, the clock's ticking. Like, I need to be home pretty soon. And I'm like, dang it. So I run back to my truck. I pull my truck around, park it, and I'm watching. He laid down, and I'm like, you know what? I got nothing else to lose. I'm just going to go straight at him and slide underneath those does. There was a group of does that were up above him on this little bench. He was bedded below the bench, and then there was a doe and a fawn around him and another fawn right above him. So I went up this steep bench or steep hill right underneath that bench, and I come out to where I thought he should be, and he wasn't there. And I was like, crap. So I'm like, well, did I bust him? Did they just move off? Is he still around here? Well, there was really nothing but boulders to hide behind. So I caught one of their tracks, and I just started following their tracks. Well, then I look up probably 20 yards from there, and there's a doe. So I kneel down, and this doe just catches a glimpse of me, and she starts working down past me. And she gets to like 15 yards. I'm like, where's the buck? Well, then she finally spooks, and she bounces up over the ridge. I'm like, oh, here it goes. It's done now. So I'm like, man, I got nothing better to do. I'll just keep following her. So I followed where she went, and I peeked up over the other side, and I could see a doe feeding, probably 70 yards, steep downhill. And I'm like, crap. And I look, and there's another doe at 50 yards, and there's another doe, and they're calm. I'm like, I just bumped a doe. How in the heck are they calm? I still don't know how they were calm. And then I look to the right, and I have an arrow knocked, and right in front or downhill from me and in front of me, there's the bucket, 55 yards. He was right underneath a rocky outcropping. And he's just standing there, and he's chewing his cud, but he's quartered hard away from me. So I range him. I start shaking like a big sissy. It's a big old 2-point. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
It's a big old 2-point, and I start shaking like it was my first buck. So I calm myself down. I range him. I clip on him like he's 55 yards. He's just barely downhill from me. He's almost up on my level. And I put, well, the one doe, she's seen me stand up, and she's on to me. And she blows out. Well, then he turns and locks onto me, and he's quartered hard to me. And I'm like, dang it. I don't want to shoot him. And then he takes a couple steps, and I draw back, and he darts down the hill. And I'm like, crap. So I go to my knees and grab my grunt tube. And I can see him. I range, and he's 80 yards downhill. So he's probably 70 yards, true distance. And I'm like, dang, that's a far shot. And this guy hasn't been shooting his bow a lot. So I'm like, dang it. I'm like, so I grunt, he switches his tail. All the other deer took off, except for him. I call him back in, and I range him, and he's 67 yards. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold 60 on him. So I draw straight back, I anchor down, and he turns broadside for me. And I squeezed her off. I hit him just about 3 inches too high, and he fell right to the ground. Put another arrow in him quickly, and I didn't spine him, but I high-shouldered him just a little bit high. And he is a cool buck, man. He's old. He
is a cool buck.
Big old, tall. I mean, just a mature animal. It was fun. Just it was a gift, you know. And you know, I got to tell the story because I just got to tell it. But that 180-inch buck 88-inch buck that I told you that guy took on Monday. It's funny. I was having this conversation. I sent a picture to my buddy last night. He's like, oh, awesome, you know, and he just killed a small buck the other day, and, you know, and my buck was bigger than his buck, you know, which I wasn't even thinking, keeping track. But last night he texted me, I didn't get it till this morning, and he's like, did you see such and such buck? And I'm like, man, I don't want to see his buck because I know it's bigger than mine. You know, you just get off that high, and it's the world we live in today. Like, you don't even get some time to celebrate, and somebody's got a bigger buck than you. You know, and I say this just because I know other people that are listeners feel this, and I know people feel that when I post stuff. Myself, I'm talking about my own content here. You know, when I kill big elk with a client, or we kill a bobcat, or we kill predators, or we kill a big muley, or kill a big antelope, or big sheep, whatever it is, that feeling goes around to everybody. That's kind of why I do that little hang loose sign, because at the end of the day, I shot the buck that I shot because in my life, in my time, in my value system, where I was at, that was the buck I wanted to shoot. That was the buck I had an opportunity at. I'm not competing against that guy that shot that 180-inch buck on Monday. And so I just hope people recognize that, because it kind of kicked me in the nuts when I seen the picture of that buck. I'm like, damn it. If I'd have put more time and effort in, if I'd have really, you know, I can make up all the excuses in the world as why I didn't kill a bigger buck. The reality of it is I just didn't kill a bigger buck. Be happy with what I have and don't take anything away from it. So that's just kind of why I had to say that, because it's one of those things that I think today that everybody feels. I think everybody kind of gets deflated, and I think in our own little way we're always out there to improve and get better, and sometimes by all the content that everybody posts, I think there's a lot of animosity and there's a lot of envy out there. Yeah. And you know, we're all just living in, you know, for us, we market, and as Gary Vee says, marketers ruin everything, and sometimes by marketing, you know, we might, you know, ruin, you know, you know, it's just like my wife. You know, she didn't kill the biggest bull out of everyone. She killed pretty much the smallest bull of the year. Nothing to take away from that other than, you know, she's happy, I'm happy, and just be happy for one another, and don't let that don't let that animosity build up in you, because one day it's going to be your turn. People that act like, they don't kill, they always kill the biggest stuff. They're liars. They're full of shit. Excuse my language. It comes around to you. You're going to have your turn where it's not, you're not going to be on top. And, you just got to work through that and keep going. And if you're good enough and you put in enough effort, you'll get there. So
that's awesome, buddy. I'm glad you mentioned that. I kind of needed that this morning. I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's take another quick break here. I want to ask you some gear stuff, and then we'll let you get on with your day. PhoneScope is a company that makes custom-molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. It is simple to text photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. Get yours now by using the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope. That's PhoneSkope.com, or on Instagram at PhoneScope. Awesome, Buck. If guys want to see it, they can go on Steele AZ on Instagram. Check out Craig's buck from yesterday. Congrats, buddy. Before we get to gear, I want to ask you a few gear things that you're using this season. Maybe new things, maybe old things, just some things that jump out at you. But what's up with the Patriots 12-2?
Hard work. To some people, they call it cheating.
I guess it's better than being the Browns at 0-14, huh?
Yeah, at least they have nowhere to go but up, the Browns, so.
What are you thinking? Are you thinking like Cowboys, Patriots in the Super Bowl, or what do you think?
To be honest with you, it doesn't matter unless we win.
All you care about is the Patriots are there?
And
then they win. Yeah.
You got to win it. You have to win it. There's only one winner, and tip your cap if you're not the one winner. And, that's the only thing I think about in hunting is winning. There's only, if you got a tag, you can either win or lose. And, if you don't win, tip your cap. And that's what I love about the Patriots organization is, they're good losers. And they're good winners. Don't step on people when you're winning, and because it's going to be your turn eventually, to lose. So
speaking of losing, my Cardinals are having a little bit of a rough go. But yeah,
hopefully they figure it out.
It happens. It's the NFL, man. It is what it is, and yeah, hopefully they'll figure it out. Guys are real down on Carson Palmer. I'm a Carson Palmer fan. I think he's great.
I think guys are the quarterback's always got to be the whipping post. So who are they going to go out there and get? And I'm not a football expert. I don't get to watch much football. I never was that great at football. So, I'm not here to, whatever, but, gosh, how about some blame for the offensive line, or coaching staff? There's a number of people you can blame. So
Craig, moving on, any gear this season, couple things. I've said it before, for the guys listening, for any hunting, but for me, for the over-the-counter archery deer, I wore those Sneak Tech, and I've got no affiliation with Sneak Tech. Sneaktech.com. That's SNEECTEC, I believe. It might be SNEEKTEC, but anyway, best sneaky feet type of things I've ever worn. It's got about probably 1.5 inch cushion, the non-memory foam cushion. I recommend anybody going to do over-the-counter archery deer wear those suckers, because literally you can sneak up on anything with those things. You'd be so quiet. I've never found anything to make my stock so quiet. But Craig, what have you found? Couple things you found over this last season.
There's the one thing, predator hunting or going somewhere else in hunting that you're not familiar with, or even places that you're familiar with, onX maps. I don't know, and this is, they did some sponsoring or advertising with me when I used to do a magazine, but outside of that, there's no affiliation. They're not paying me. There's nothing. Man, if you don't have that, just freaking go jump off a cliff.
Okay, I got a question for you about this. This is a good discussion.
Okay.
About a year ago, I downloaded onX Maps, and it might have been 2 years ago, and I cached the maps so that I didn't have to have service, and I went to Unit 9, and I opened the maps up, and it was real blurry. It wasn't clear when I'd zoom in and try and get detailed. It was like real fuzzy and real blurry. And
you're talking about the app, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the app. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about just their card in general that goes in GPS.
Okay.
I use the app as well. I use the app as secondary for me. It's, oh crap, I don't have my onX GPS with me. See, I run a vehicle GPS is what I basically run all the time in my vehicle.
Kind?
So
what are you running?
It's a big Garmin Nuvi, and I don't know what model number, but it's got like a 5-inch screen, and that thing is going constantly. Has, obviously has all the BLM, topo, right on there. And so specifically predator hunts, but also scouting, I can mark trace, and it tells me where I've been in the vehicle. So it traces out my, line of travel, and I can see all the canyons. And I mean, it's just huge for me. I mean, I use it all the time. I pull up little things. If I'm in an area that I haven't been in a while, I can see if there's a road. Now, it doesn't have all the roads, because some of it, I mean, it's some of it's old maps.
Now, does this have aerial? Are you looking at
that?
Aerial?
Does not have aerial. It's just topo. It's just topo.
Okay.
And then I have the app on my phone with the aerial. The one thing I did use the app on this year, I mean, I don't know exactly. I'm not an expert on it, but why it's blurry, other than maybe you didn't cache it when you had full service. I don't know.
I can open up Google Earth and zoom in on that aerial, and I mean it. You could see it. You could see an elk standing there almost.
Okay, here's the deal. I don't care if it's onX Maps or Google Earth. If you have satellite imagery, what I like about onX is because I have that overlay of that public land. Gotcha. If I'm hunting public land, but I don't care if it's Google Earth or onX Maps. I don't care which one, but like I could have used Google Earth as well. This year, where we had a bull that was hit, and I sent Lee a map of where I thought the bull was at, aerial, and they were able to do some searching, and they found the bull. And there's just little things like that. Like I might pop open that aerial view if I just have my phone and I do have service, because I'm not the best at caching stuff, so I don't think about it. But I can pull open that aerial view, and I can see, oh man, there's 3 junipers right there in between where me and these bedded bucks are at, Okay. And then that allows me, oh, there's the 3 juniper trees. So there's little things like that is huge. But specifically, I use the Garmin in my vehicle a ton, just for scouting and specifically for predator hunts. I mean, it is, or even like at night, traveling back to somewhere, you're like, crap, it got foggy and rainy on me. Where am I at?
Yeah.
It is.
And I don't mean to. I jumped on you right away asking about onX Maps just because I may be an idiot. I might have downloaded it wrong, but I wanted to know: are you specifically talking about onX Maps, or are you talking about digital mapping in general?
Digital mapping in general. I mean, I use the onX Maps. You could use whatever. Sorry. But that in combination with some sort of aerial satellite imagery, the topo with the aerial satellite imagery, I think, I mean, it's to me, it's, gosh dang it, sorry guys, it's huge. And then moving forward from the maps and products, I gotta give some props to the Outdoorsmans for their pack. That pack, I have beat the heck out of it, and man, it's showing some signs of wear. I think this is my 3rd or 4th season with it, but man, I just beat the crap out of it. I don't take care of it, and they're just tough. They're just tough. Maybe there's other packs out there that are more comfortable and whatnot, but that thing is just tough. So I don't know what else to say about it. And that's their old version. I don't have their new version. And then what else? Trying to think. Obviously, glass as usual. Their binocular adapter is critical.
You're bouncing around with your mic there.
Am I? What am I doing?
You mean the outdoorsman?
Not having a party over here.
You mean the outdoorsman?
Their adapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, their adapter. I mean, it's putting those studs in all your binoculars and it's being able to run one adapter. It's in the way it locks on. If you get it locked on, you need to make sure you lock it on. And there's a couple times when I was first learning how to use it that I didn't get it locked on all the way. But once you get it locked on, it's locked on. Gosh dang it, I'm trying to think what else. My Toyota. God bless my Toyota.
I haven't seen many photos in the last, say, 30 days of it jacked up or anything like that.
Man, I've put on 30,000 miles in a little over a year with that thing. And that's not 30,000 highway miles. That's 30,000 grinding, pounding. Man, it just...
Riding with you is an adventure. I will add that.
I know you drive just as fast, if not faster. Lee, my partner, drives super fast. I know some of those other guys out there that drive even faster than me. Problem with me is I just don't watch the dang road. That's my
see Lee
problem.
as a fast driver. Lee's a fast driver.
Gosh.
As gentle and polite of a person and just calm as Lee is, he drives fast. I don't see that fast at all.
Oh man, he drives fast. I'm slow compared to him, but to be honest with you, I hate driving. That's why I'm always looking on the road, off the road, looking for tracks or sign or animals or new place to go, scheming about something. I just hate driving. I think it's a waste of time. It just annoys. But my 4Runner yesterday, I had it in some crap. I'm like, why am I beating this poor thing down this road? I know I'm not going to see a deer when I walk out to the end of that point, but I had to do it anyway, just to do it. Man, yeah, that's as far as like sneaky feet. You mentioned that Sneak Tech or whatever. I don't know if I've ever...
incredible, man. You have to. I mean, if you've ever listened to anything I've ever said, I'm telling you, check those things out. They're like $40, and they are incredible.
Before I spend money on those, which I probably will, the thing that I saw a hunter do, Gene, last year during the archery elk hunts, is he wore some very thin shoes with those open, those individual toes. I don't know what the heck they're called. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he put on a really thick pair of wool socks. Because the thing I run into is I'm already in a size 13. So if I start adding in more stuff on the bottom, and I also have orthotics, I start walking on high heels and in snowshoes, and it's not good for sneaking. So I typically go barefoot, but the problem with going barefoot is if something gets up and moves on you, your feet are screwed.
I was watching one guy one time that was stalking, and he left his shoes behind, and then he called me on the radio and said, "I can't find my shoes."
I've actually left them overnight one time. Me and my buddy killed a buck, or he killed a buck, and we drove back out there the next day to get our shoes. He almost stepped on a rattlesnake walking back to the truck barefoot because we did the same thing. We couldn't find them, so we drove home barefoot. There was so much cactus, and then there was a snake. It was just not good. But he had those shoes with the individual toe, whatever you call it, and then he put a thick wool sock. And that's my next thing I'm going to try. I'll try those sneak techs too.
No, you won't. You will not.
Yeah, I probably won't.
You won't even go look at them. You won't even go see what I'm talking about. You're so pig-headed. You won't even you won't even think twice about them.
Oh man, yeah, you're right.
All right, buddy. It's been awesome today. You're always just as honest as the day is long, and you say it just how it is, and that's one thing I really like about you. I appreciate having you on and you spending your time and sharing your expertise with us. Give you a chance to let the listeners that don't know you, how do they follow you more? How do they find out about you? How do they contact you?
You can follow me on Facebook, Craig Steele, or Instagram, Craig Steele AZ. It's pretty much the two that I'm on. I'm on more on Instagram than anything. You can go to our guiding, big game guiding, Arizona big game guiding website, exclusivepursuitoutfitters.com, and you can go to predatorexclusives.com. If I post anything, I post both personally and professionally on my Instagram. Pretty much everything else on those other platforms or those other mediums are professionally, so for our outfitting stuff. But that's it.
And real fast, your predator hunts, you've already been doing some, but over the next couple months, your predator hunts, you're going crazy with your predator hunts, and this is kind of going into the season when you do the most predator hunting, correct?
Yeah, I got a couple guys that have been doing them, and then I've done a few. But going into December's usually a good month for us. But January, and for me personally, February and March is usually my busiest months just because I'm out of the big game season. And February is usually it is loaded for me. I've got, I don't know, 7 or 8 people I need to call and email already that are wanting to predator hunt with us. We just have limited space. And
plus
so
you have so much return. I mean, so many people
returners.
That come once. I mean, you just finished a hunt with Ian, and he's been out a bunch of times.
Yeah, we about 80% of our people come back and hunt again. And we have a few guys that'll hunt multiple 2 or 3 times in a year. So we want to keep it, kind of that small, medium size, where we can take care of guys and have good hunts and hunt with people that we like. And so it's kind of a little bit slow to get booked in with us, but that's because we just want a higher quality product, and we're not into being Walmart.
Now I get it. You want to hunt with people you like. That's why I haven't been invited one time on a predator hunt. Now I get it.
Now you're reading in between the lines.
All right, brother. If I don't talk to you, have a Merry Christmas. Have a great holidays with your family, and just go get them on these next hunts, and I'll be chatting at you down the road. Thanks for doing all that you do, providing all the quality content and the value that you do in your platforms, and just appreciate the guy that you are, okay?
All right, man. You too. Thanks, Jay.
All right, take care.
Bye. Are you there?